Hi friends, it's Lisa Mears. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. I'm so excited for today's video because I've got some brand new products from scrapbook.com to share with you. We're talking everything from gorgeous paper pads to must-have dies and stamps. And a huge thank you to scrapbook.com for sending me these products to share with you today. If you're interested in anything that you see here, make sure you check out the description box below for all of the product links. And of course, I'll be making a few cards so you can see some of these products in action. So let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, so I first want to show you these amazing dies. And a lot of these dies are nesting dies, which I love and I feel like are an essential in every card maker's craft room. So these dies are the nested stitched cloud dies, which come with 5 dies, and these will come in really handy when I make scene cards. For example, if you're creating a sky scene and you need to have a few clouds in the sky, these will work out great, and they have that stitching detail, which is so pretty. Okay, the next set of dies, these are the nested stitched stamps. These are a set of 5 dies that have that postage stamp edge, and what's fun about these is that it cuts out the frame and the inside rectangle. So it's not just one complete piece, you get 2 pieces when you run each die through your die cutting machine. And I will be making a card with this a little bit later, so you'll be able to see how these work. The next set of dies is the nested stitched scallop frame dies. These come in a pack of 5 frames. They do have the scalloped edge, and these would be great for shaker cards because the inside rectangle does get cut out. The next set of dies is the nested stamp Polaroids, and this resembles a photo from a Polaroid camera. So fun. I also received the Celebration Banners die set, and I believe this one has been out for a little while. This is what it looks like. These are perfect to add little banners to your cards. There's also some small flags on there. And then let's take a look at this brand new stamp set, which is called Blooming Sentiments. This is so pretty for spring. It has lots of different sentiments such as bloom bravely, grow graciously, flourish fiercely. Then you have all these small sentiments on the left, such as happy wedding day, happy anniversary, you make life lovely, congrats, just for you, sending you strength. There's also a sentiment there on the bottom that says things bloom wherever you are. We also have sending you birthday blooms. There are also some flowers in this stamp set. You've got a few flowers, and then you have the stem with the leaves. And there is a die set that goes with that, which I don't have. This one is Grow with the Flow. This is a word die, and it has some flowers that are included in there. And this one was just released this week, as well as the Made to Bloom word die. And here's what it looks like. It says you were made to bloom. Perfect for spring. And there's another one that says there's no one like you. And there's a few more brand new nesting dies, and these have a wavy edge. Here are the nested wavy ovals. And that's what they would look like when they are layered together. There's also the nested wavy circles. You get lots of dies in these sets, and nesting dies are such an essential die in any card maker's craft room. These sets allow you to create perfect layers, and it makes it easy to add dimension and depth to your designs. These are the nested wavy rectangles. Lots of dies in that one as well. Again, they allow you to create a strong focal point, whether you're framing a sentiment or an image. They're just great for adding to any card maker's collection. So next I want to show you the crafty cleanup cloths, and they just added the black ones to the website. The pink ones have been around a while, but they did just add the black, and these are great for cleaning up messes in your craft room. So if you work with lots of inks, maybe you're inking up a background with a stencil and you need to clean up your workspace, you can use these cloths to do so. And what's nice about these is that they are perforated. You can just tear them off and use them as needed, and you can stick them in the wash. These are microfiber towels, and they measure about 10 inches by 10 inches, and it says on the website that they can be tossed in the washing machine up to 50 times. In addition to being washable, it also says that they are lint-free, streak-free, and they dry quickly. And you do get 20 towels in each pack. So you have the black set and the pink set. There are also two new sizes of the Scrapbook.com mint tape. There's the 1/2 inch mint tape and the 1/4 inch mint tape. And this is in addition to the 1-inch tape. That's the one that I use most of the time. And there's also a 4-inch roll of mint tape available as well. I mostly use mint tape to hold my dies in place when running them through my die cutting machine, but you can also use them for masking. So if you're doing stamping and you're coloring or you're inking, you can definitely use this as a masking tape to mask off different sections of your image or your cardstock. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at all of these beautiful pattern paper pads, and I'm going to start with some of the solid pads. Now I'm showing the 6x8 size pads, but these are all available in A2 size as well, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. Okay, so this is the Candy Smooth cardstock. I'm just going to flip through here so you can see all of the pretty bright colors. I love all those pinks, purples. There's some orange in here. We've got some dark blue, purple. There's a brighter blue, green, and yellow. Such fun color combinations. So moving on, I'm going to show you the Jolly paper pad. Now this one has been out for just a little while. I think it came out around Christmas time, but I'm just getting my hands on it. I love all of the colors in here. You can definitely use this for other times of year, not just Christmas. Let's look at the ombre pattern paper pad. This is a beautiful paper pad, and it looks like a lot of ink blending on all of these sheets of paper. So if you struggle with ink blending, but you really like that effect, you can use this ombre paper pad to get some really beautiful ink blended looking designs. You can see there were some purples and blues going into some greens. And there is some peach or orange on the reverse side of that one. And with each pack, you get a total of 16 different patterns. There's some oranges, and then we get into the pinks, and I love those pinks and the oranges and the yellows. That combination is so pretty. So that's the ombre pattern paper collection. Next, let's look at the rainbow and pastel glossy cardstock. Now, this cardstock, compared to the smooth cardstock, it's different in weight. So with this glossy cardstock, it's a bit thicker and it is so pretty. So you get 6 sheets of each color. It's 350 GSMs, which is 150 pounds. And then if we look at the smooth cardstock, you can see that it's 230 GSMs. So the smooth cardstock is a much lighter paper than this thick glossy cardstock. And listen to that thickness. This paper is so thick, and this would be great for sentiments. It's so shiny, and on the reverse you get a shiny white. So you get the colored side, and then on the reverse is the white. Look at the beige and the yellow. There's also some green. That green is so pretty. We've got a teal. Oh my gosh, that one's so pretty too. And then there are some blues and purples in here. I love this pastel glossy cardstock so much, and I'm going to be using that to make some cards later on. And then this is the rainbow pack. These are the brighter, darker colors, but it's all in the rainbow color family. Again, so pretty. And you also get white in this one as well. There's also another brand new paper pad. That's the glossy cardstock. This is the classic paper pad. This one has your blacks and your whites. Look at that glossy black and the glossy white. It's so stunning. And on the reverse of the black is white. So if you need more white, you've got it there. And then obviously the white glossy cardstock is white on both the front and the back. Let's look at some of the newer pattern paper pads. This is the Enchanted pattern paper collection. If you are into Disney, this one is amazing because you have the little Mickey Mouse ears on here. And maybe you're doing a Disney themed scrapbook, or if you just want to make some magical type of cards, then this paper pad is definitely a must-have. There are some fireworks here. There's some pink with the white dots. This one is super cute with the castle and the pirate ship. You can even use this for birthday invitations. Maybe you're having a child's birthday party that is a pirate theme or princess theme. You can use this for birthday invitations. Look how cute those are. You got little Mickey Mouse ear cookies and headbands. And then there's some more dots. There's an Eiffel Tower and a Ferris wheel. Some stars. Such a cute paper pad. And then this one is the vintage paper pad. If you like to make vintage type of cards or scrapbook pages, this one is a must have. So you can see all of the beautiful vintage designs in here. And then the last one I want to show you is the bouquet pattern paper. I'll be using this one a lot today. It has lots of different flowers. This is perfect for your spring cards, just in time for spring and Easter. Lots of pretty colors from orange, greens, purples, pinks, yellows. So pretty. So I'm going to be making some cards today using some of these products that you see here today. And I'm going to start with the bouquet paper pad, the ombre pattern paper pad. I'll be using the Blooming Sentiments stamp set as well as the nested wavy rectangle dies. So I have a few rectangle dies. I'm actually going to be using one more, but I'll bring that in a little bit later. And I'm going to grab a piece of this ombre pattern paper. I love this pink design. It is so pretty. And I'm also going to be bringing in a floral pattern from the bouquet paper pad. I thought that this one matched nicely with the ombre paper, so I'll be using these two. I'm also going to be bringing in another piece of pattern paper a little bit later, and you'll see that as I go. So I'm going to start by taking this rectangle die, and I'll be die cutting the ombre paper with that larger rectangle. I'm going to use some of my mint tape to hold that die down to the paper, and I'm bringing in my Spellbinders die cutting machine, and I'm just running that through my die cutting machine. And when that die cuts the paper, you can see that wavy edge. That's so fun. Next, I'm going to take that same large rectangle die as well as a smaller die that fits inside, and I'm going to die cut this floral paper, and I am basically putting these two dies together to make a frame out of this floral paper. So rather than just layering those nesting dies together, you can make frames with them by die cutting a smaller die from the center of a larger die. So here I have the frame, and I have what cut out from the inside, and I'm not going to be using that smaller piece. However, I can save it for another project. So using that same piece of pattern paper that I cut that frame out of, I'm going to flip it over, and I'll use the purple side of that sheet to die cut another wavy rectangle. So let's look at what we have so far. We have this rectangle frame with the center cut out that can layer directly on top of that ombre paper. If you wanted to just put the purple paper on top of the ombre paper, you can. It would also look pretty with the frame over top. You have lots of options here, but what I'm going to do is I want to have a sentiment on that ombre paper. But I also want to have a little bit of that purple pattern paper showing through underneath this frame. So I'm going to take a smaller wavy rectangle die and I'm going to die cut the center of that purple pattern paper. So I'm just positioning everything to make sure I have everything lined up where I need it to be. I'm going to use some mint tape to attach this die down to the purple pattern paper, and then I'll run that through my die cutting machine. And that's also going to cut the center out of that purple pattern paper. So now I have everything that I need to build this card. I'm going to go ahead and put my papers how I want them in my MISTI because I need to line my stamp up. So I'm not gluing them together yet. I'm just going to position them where I think I need them to be, so that way I can get a good alignment on my stamp. And I love that large stamp that says bloom bravely, grow graciously, flourish fiercely. So that's what I'm putting on the inside of this card. So I just lined it up. I removed all of the other die cut pieces. I'm going to ink this up with some black ink, and I'm going to press that down really well. I will ink it up another time or two just to make sure I have a really good black impression. And I love the way that looks on that ombre cardstock. So pretty. I'm going to take my cleanup cloth and just clean off that stamp, and it does a really good job of getting all of that ink off of that stamp. Now we're going to build this card up with these layers, and I'm going to start with the purple pattern paper that's going to go on that ombre background first. And that even looks pretty just like that if you wanted to build a card with just those two layers. But we're going to take this up a notch. I'm going to put some foam on the back of my larger rectangle because I want to add some height to this top layer. Now, if you wanted to make this a shaker card, you totally could because it has that center cut out of the frame. You could put some acetate on there before adding the foam and make this into a shaker card. But I didn't want to make this a shaker card. I just wanted to have some dimension, and look how pretty that is. You can see all that purple on the inside. I think that's gorgeous. And then the flowers on the top layer, the ombre in the middle, so pretty. I'm bringing in my Sunny Lane floral dies. I'm going to just use a small flower, and I'm going to build up the layers there on the flower. I'm also bringing in the leaf die, and I have the pattern butterflies, and I die cut another piece of this ombre pattern paper with a piece of vellum, and I'm going to layer those butterflies together. But before I layer those up, I'm going to ink up the edges of my orange flower with some orange ink just to add some depth to that flower. I'm going to do the same thing to my butterfly, adding some pink ink to the edges of the pink butterfly. You can see the difference to adding the ink. The side on the right has the ink and the side on the left does not. And you can see that it makes a huge difference in the way that butterfly die cut looks. Had so much depth to it. So I'm going to go ahead and take my glue out. I'm going to add the center of the flower, which I die cut out of white cardstock. And then there's a center that goes inside of that, which I die cut out of some black cardstock. And then I'm going to just put some glue on the middle of the butterfly and add them to this piece of vellum. I don't want to add glue behind the wings because I want those wings to be able to be popped up on that vellum to give some more height and dimension to this card. So I'm going to add my flower in the lower left hand corner of this card just to frame out that frame a little bit better. I'm going to put glue just at the bottom of the leaves, not at the top because I don't want them fully pressed down to the card. That will also give it some more height and dimension by just adding the bottom part and letting the top kind of flow freely there on the card. I'm going to go ahead and add my butterfly to the top right corner of that card. I will add some more embellishments in just a minute, but in the meantime, I'm going to make a card base. I want this to be a shaped card, so I'm taking a piece of 8.5 by 11 sheet of white cardstock. I folded it in half, and I took the same rectangle die that I used to cut out that frame for my card, and I'm adding it to this piece of cardstock, but I put it so that the top edge is slightly over the top fold in that cardstock. I ran it through my die cutting machine, and that gives me a card base that is identical to the shape of my card. And my card front is going to go right on top of that card base. Now, if I glue it on like this, you'll be able to see a little bit of that pink pattern paper peeking out of the top edge from behind the card. And if you want a cleaner look, just take that same die and die cut a piece of white cardstock and add that single piece of white cardstock to the back of your card. That will make it so that the back is a much cleaner edge. Everything is white on the back. And then just put glue on the front of the card base and attach it to the back of that card panel. And that gives you a much cleaner look from behind. Now keep in mind, you could have always taken that card panel and just put it on a regular A2 size card base rather than making your own card base using the same shape as the card panel. That's up to you. So now I'm going to add some pops of color to my butterfly. This is the Unicorn Tears Pops of Color. It's a pink with a glitter in it, and I just put it along the center of the butterfly to add some glitter and some more dimension. And then I'm going to take some of these Spellbinders crystal mix and add them to the card front. This card is so pretty. I just love how this turned out. So I made a shaped card with lots of dimension. So pretty. You can see all that dimension when I turn it there on the side. Okay, moving on, I'm going to create some more cards. This time I'm using the nested wavy ovals. I'll be using the Grow with the Flow word die, which I have here, as well as the pastel glossy cardstock. I'll be using the Jolly smooth cardstock and the bouquet pattern paper. I've already die cut my ovals. I have a piece of pattern paper and a piece of the solid orange cardstock. And those pieces will just layer together. So here I'm just showing you the papers that I used. I used that pattern paper. I'm going to layer it on the orange solid cardstock to create that layer. I also took another piece of the orange cardstock and another piece of pattern paper. The orange cardstock measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and then the pattern paper is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So again, the floral paper came from the bouquet paper pad, and then the orange paper I took from the Jolly paper pad. Okay, let's set these aside. I'm going to go ahead and glue these layers together. And now I'm going to work on my sentiment, Grow with the Flow. So this sentiment has these two dies. It also has some flower dies in there. And I used the pastel glossy cardstock to die cut the sentiment 4 different times. So I just have them sorted here in my stack and sort trays. And I want to show you what's really unique about this sentiment is that this particular die, it cuts out not only the words, but also the outline, which is really fun. So here's the words, cuts out the outline. And if you wanted to piece these together to have an outline plus the word inside the outline, you can totally do that. And then this die will die cut the shadow. So I die cut that out of some vellum. So you can see that here. You can also die cut it with pattern paper if you wanted to. You can see that I die cut it with the polka dot paper, and if you add the words on top, you can still see that design in the background. So because that die is a little bit thick, it works well with pattern paper. You can add that outline to the shadow, and then you can even piece in the words and have a multicolored look with your sentiments. You can see how if I add the word flow in here, you've got the pink outline, which is really pretty. I love that. I'm going to go ahead and put my flowers together. I cut out the petals there with some pink cardstock. I'm going to add the center. I'm going to add the little black dot in the center of the light pink, and then I'm going to leave those to the side for just a minute because I'm going to add those to my card. I'm going to take out my words. I'm going to have a different color for each word of the sentiment, so those words will be added to my vellum. Here's a closer look at what that sentiment looks like once it's put together. I love those pastel colors. It's so beautiful. And now I'm going to add this to my oval. I'm going to position them where I want them. I am going to add some flowers like you saw there in the picture. So I'm going to position the flowers where I want them. I'll have one here off to the right, and then I'm going to have one on the left side. And this oval piece is going to be added to the rectangle layer, and you can add it flat, but I'm going to pop it up with some dimension. I want it to just have some depth to this card, so I took a piece of one of the Scrapbook.com foam sheets and die cut the same die that I die cut the largest oval out of. Die cut a piece of the foam and I added it to the back. Now that foam is double-sided, sticky, so after adding it to the oval, I went ahead and added it then to the card panel. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue this down to my card base. I'm using an A2 size card base, which measures 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And then I'm going to add some of the Spellbinders Crystal Mix gems to the front of the card. And then this card is complete. I just love how this turned out. You can see the finished card here, and look how that glossy cardstock, it just kind of has that shine when you move it back and forth, and that card has all of that beautiful dimension. So pretty. And then since I had all of those other colors with the sentiments left over, I went ahead and made 3 additional cards using different pattern papers from the bouquet paper pad. For my next card, I'm using the Nested Stitched Stamps die set. I'm using the smallest die. This is like a postage stamp. You can see that it cuts out the frame and the inside rectangle. And what's nice about this is if you wanted to have a different color frame than you have on the inside piece, you can do that with this. You can also use these as a shaker frame, so if you wanted to make a shaker card with these frames, you can do that as well. So for my card, I'm going to be doing some stamping on these rectangles that came out of the inside of that frame. And I'm going to be stamping some flowers on these rectangles. I'm using some of the Scrapbook.com hybrid ink, and this green ink is the guacamole ink. Went ahead and stamped the stem down, and now I'm just positioning the flower part or the petals and lined that up, and now I'm using a pink ink, and this ink is the pink flamingo ink. I'm going to repeat that process with all 4 of my rectangles, and I'll be stamping down those flowers. So here's a little stamping hack for you. Because that stamp already has ink on it, I don't want to get ink on my white cardstock as I'm positioning the stamp in place. So I put a piece of acetate over top of my cardstock and then placed my stamp on top of the acetate to position it. I'm going to go ahead and hold that down with the magnet and pick up my stamp, and then I'll just remove that acetate piece. And now I'll be able to go ahead and ink that stamp up again to put some fresh ink on it and stamp it down. And I'm going to do the same thing with that flower stamp. So I'm just going to set that acetate over top of the paper, position the flower stamp, pick it up with the Door of the Misty, ink it up, and stamp it down after I remove the acetate. So I'm going to repeat that process on the other 2 rectangles. And after I've stamped all of them down, I'm using a gray ink. This is the Pebble ink from Catherine Pooler, and I'm stamping down these little stars that is also on this stamp set. That just fills in some of the white space on each one of these rectangles. And off camera, I did stamp out the sentiment, "Things bloom wherever you are." And you'll see that here in just a moment. So next I have a piece of the pattern paper from the Bouquet paper pad. It's this really pretty pink with white dots, and I'm adding those frames to this pattern paper. The two sets at the top are equally spaced and the two sets at the bottom are equally spaced, but they're not equally spaced in the middle. You can see I left a larger space there in the middle, and that's because I'm adding the sentiment in the middle. I'm adding those flower rectangles right back to the inside of the frames. And then the sentiment is popped up on some foam, and I'm going to add that to the card panel. And by the way, I do want to let you know that that pink pattern paper, I did cut that to 4 by 5¼ inches. Next, I have a piece of this green paper that I took from the Jolly paper pad. I felt like that green paper matched closely with the ink that I used on the card. I cut that paper to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and I'm just layering those two pieces together. And then I'll add that to an A2 size card base. So that will complete this card. I really hope you liked these cards today and found lots of inspiration in this video. Once again, if you are interested in any of the products you see here today, check the link in the description box below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you like videos like this and want to see more, make sure you click that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye-bye.